Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another rendition of Math is Easy Step by Step. Here we go, just jumping right into the deep end. It's another test question for your Math GED portion video. Let's get right to it. Fill in the space with the most appropriate options below. So two lines that never meet are blank lines. And so here we go, here we go, here we go. Two lines that touch. Well, I'm having a hard time. I apologize here. Let me see if I can do this. Two lines that touch and create right angles are blank lines. Okay, I'm going to keep going here. Parallel lines have blank slopes. Perpendicular lines have blank slopes. And here are your options. Parallel, equal, perpendicular, negative reciprocal. Negative reciprocal. I'm going to read that again, since you've been able to see the options. So the options again are parallel, equal, perpendicular, and negative reciprocal. Negative reciprocal. All right. Fill in the space with the most appropriate options below. Two lines that never meet are blank lines. Two lines that touch are and creates right angles are blank lines. Parallel lines have blank slopes. Perpendicular lines have blank slopes. Fill in the blanks with either parallel, equal, perpendicular, or negative reciprocal. Negative reciprocal. All right. So, I'd like to go over some examples of each and do the very best that I can in helping you understand how to answer this question easily. So here I have two drawn lines. They're not drawn perfectly to scale, but the best that I could do. Lines will have arrows at the end. Why? Because they go on in both directions forever and ever and ever and ever. M is represented by slope. I'm going to explain that in just a few moments, right? So the slope of this line is equal to 3, and the slope of this line is equal to 3. One way to remember parallel lines is the two L's in front of the EL. Think of them as just straight lines right next to each other. Parallel lines. That's a way to remember. Okay. Parallel lines never touch. They never, ever touch. They go on forever, never, 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 and forever. And they never touch. They never touch. They have the exact same M. Slopes. M represents the slopes. I'll explain that in just a moment as well. So y equals mx plus b, right? This is point slope form. Whatever number is in front of that x is your slope. So over here, there's a 3 in front of the x. 3 is your m. 3 is your slope. I have a number of videos on point slope form and go over what the y, the m, the x, and the b means in detail. I also use this to graph. I use this to graph slopes given only a few values. Please watch my videos. They're super duper duper helpful for you. Check them out. So again, m is our slope. And what is slope? Slope is always a fraction, even if it's an invisible one. Even if it's an invisible one in the denominators, like I'm showing you here, it will always, always, always be a fraction with the value of y over the value of x. Okay? Or rise over run. Whatever value is in the top part of the fraction is rising. You are going up or down, so to speak, right? Rise over run. The value for x is going left and right. The value for y is going up or down. Rise over run is another way to remember y over x. And so 3, as you see here, the m value is 3 over 1. 3 representing the y value. It's a positive 3, so it'll go upward. It'll rise. 1 representing the x value, the run, it's positive. So on a graph, it will go to the right. It will run to the right. All right, so that's just a quick explanation of that. Check out my videos that go into much more in depth with many more examples using graph paper to explain. Perpendicular lines, a little bit different here. Perpendicular lines, a little bit different, right? Perpendicular lines, they always touch, they always cross, and they form 90-degree right angles. So you can see here, not drawn to scale, but you got two perpendicular lines. You can see how they touch, they cross, right? So when remembering perpendicular lines, you can think of a T, right? Or tav. For those of you that may know a little bit of the ancient Hebrew, tav is a T, right? Or maybe it's Greek. Maybe it's ancient Greek. I can't remember. But think of perpendicular lines, and that T is a tav. They form right degree, 90-degree angles. So they always touch, they form 90-degree right angles, and they can look like a cross or a plus sign or a T. They always probably should have, oh, that's another mistake. They always have, or it has, they has, no, that doesn't sound right. Okay, always has a negative reciprocal slope, right? So a negative reciprocal slope. It's a negative 1 over m. What the heck? Negative 1. So negative, right, is a negative. You're going to multiply a negative 1 times the slope. And then you flip. Reciprocal means you just flip it, right? Flip the slope, multiply by a negative, and that gives you a negative reciprocal slope. So as an example, the slope of this line here is 1 over 2. If you flipped 1 over 2, you would get 2 over 1. If you multiply 1/2 or 1 over 2 by a negative 1, you get a negative reciprocal, flip it, 2 over 1. So the slope of 1/2, if you flip it, multiply by a negative, you get the negative reciprocal of a negative 2, or negative 2 over 1. Okay, so that's showing you a little bit. Again, the differences between perpendicular and parallel lines, right? So perpendicular lines will always have a negative reciprocal slope. Parallel lines have the exact same equal slope. All right, this is part 1. I'm going to complete this answering this particular question in a part 2 video. Thank you for joining me. Math is easy step by step. Please like, follow, and share these videos. I surely would like to gain 20,000 followers or so or more, and 200,000 views or more, and only you can make that happen. Thanks for joining me.